Hey, what's going on, guys? And if you couldn't tell by what I'm wearing today, I'm a massive Tom and Jerry fan. So, of course, I was intrigued to find out that they were coming out with a brand new movie and a live action movie to boot. So, I decided to check it out last weekend thanks to HBO Max. And here is my review on Tom and Jerry the movie. Play it. Now, before I get into everything here, guys, like always, my reviews and recaps are somewhat spoiler filled. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I highly recommend you pause, save this video, and watch it after you watch the movie. And as always, the usual YouTube spiel. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe buttons. It would be greatly appreciated. Trying to get the channel to 500 subs, so it would be awesome if we could achieve that goal, and let's get this channel going. So let's get into it. Now, it's been since 1993 since Tom and Jerry saw a theatrical release.
I'm Tom.
I'm Jerry.
You talked! Well, sure I talk. What do you think I am, a dummy?
You said it.
After that, we've been hit with tons and tons of direct-to-DVD and direct-to-video movies, all with mediocre reception and all that. So obviously I was very curious to see how this movie was going to turn out. Now, it's directed by Tim Story, and if you know who Tim Story is, he is the guy that directed Barbershop and the two Fantastic Four movies. So depending on how you feel about those, it may give you a sign or inclination of what to expect for this movie. Now that they're doing it with the animation mixed in with live action, I'm always very cautious and, very hesitant on how those movies turn out. However, I will say that I think they did a really good job with the blend here. It kind of reminds me of those Looney Tunes live action movies like Back in Action or what have you back in the day, except now with the technology you have today, it seemed a little bit cleaner and a little bit more seamless, even though, and this is just me being a little nitpicky, I did catch some of the actors not looking in the right directions and all that, but that's just what I do. I like to look at those like weird, odd things in the backgrounds when things are going on while they're trying to distract you with the animation in the forefront. So take that with a grain of salt. Again, that's just me being a little nitpicky here. So the movie basically revolves obviously around Tom and Jerry. They make their way into New York City. Tom is a wannabe musician. He has aspirations of, being this huge musician, hopefully playing MSG. They have this cute little sequence where he's looking at John Legend's performance and wishing that he could be there with John Legend. And you have Jerry, who's just making his way into the city looking for a place to live and how to fit in and all that. And if you're familiar with the old cartoons, one of the biggest things that really made Tom and Jerry this huge global phenomenon and that has this mass appeal is because it doesn't really rely on dialogue. It just relies a lot on the visual gags, the slapstick comedy and all that. So would 1 hour and a half or what have you movies be able to sustain something like that? But that's where they really use the help of the live action actors here in the movie. You have Chloe Grace Moretz, who's probably the biggest role here in the movie. She plays this aspiring go-getter, kind of hustler, working all odd jobs and all that, just trying to make a name for herself and all that. And she ends up sneaking her way into working for this very prestigious hotel. Then you have Michael Pena, who I love. Michael Pena, and if we know he could do drama, we know he could do some action, and we definitely know he could do comedy. I loved his roles in Ant-Man, and I was always I was very curious to see how he's going to pull this off. Now, yes, he has some funny bits here and there, but I will say that he really like relied so heavily on putting on this very thick accent that really threw me off. I really didn't think it was necessary. I don't know if this was a direction from Tim Story himself or if this was a character choice that he decided to do on his own, but it was really off-putting and I really didn't think it was necessary. I think he could have just used his normal voice and all that, and it would have been just fine.
That's Goldie. She has no official position at the hotel. That's a fish.
You also have Ken Jeong, who plays a small part here in the movie. He is the main head chef there in the kitchen of the hotel. And as always, he is always very over the top in his performance. And from what little time he had on screen, I thought it was pretty comical. And then surprisingly enough, you have Colin Jost. Colin Jost from SNL. He plays who ends up playing actually a big role in this movie. He plays the guy who is engaged to Preeta, played by Pallavi Sharda. And what you find really interesting in this movie is that halfway through the movie, the story kind of takes you away from the whole Tom and Jerry rivalry and really puts a lot of focus on this couple. And I feel like it kind of takes over the whole movie for the last half of the movie. Obviously, that's how the movie was written, but it was something I was not expecting. And I do feel like Tom and Jerry themselves took a back seat to kind of lead the way for the main story of this couple and the struggles that they're having with setting up their wedding ceremony at the hotel, and of course Chloe Grace Moretz just trying to help them out and make sure that things run and work out smoothly.
I'm sorry, he's a little animated.
Yeah.
You also have Rob Delaney, who plays one of the head managers there at the hotel, and I thought he was pretty comical and very, very fun to watch while he was on screen. So, you know, the one thing you learn about this movie is that the reason why, you know, it's normal to kind of interact with a cartoon cat and a cartoon mouse is that what they did in this universe or in this reality, all the animals in the world are animated. You could see like all the dogs are animated, the horses that are pulling the carriages around Central Park and animated. Anytime any kind of animal shows up, they are fully animated. So it's something that they are familiar with, that they are accustomed to. And how does this rivalry start? Well, you know, it's interesting because they get in, you know, Tom and Jerry get to the city separately. They don't know each other. And Tom, you know, is just trying to make ends meet, playing music in the park and what have you. And Jerry actually sneaks in and tries to take away some of his thunder and tries to kind of collect the money that he's been making for performing in the park by doing his own thing and interrupting Tom's flow. And that's how things kind of start up there. That's how the rivalry really builds up. And poor Tom, I have to say that during this whole movie, he really was the big one who got punished throughout all the movie. Regardless of what you think, who's the main bully here, I think if you look back on those cartoons, especially watching it as an adult, you can really see that it's really both who can be at fault here. Jerry can be very slick and sly in getting what he wants. And Tom, of course, has his issues, you know, wanting to always punish Jerry for whatever mischief he has caused or what kind of hurt he put upon Tom. But I really do feel like it is Jerry who's the main bully here, or the one who really caused a lot of the issues here for Tom throughout the whole movie. You know, and you know, they end up getting into the hotel there, and one of the things that really stood out to me was, you know, when they did have their rivalry moments of the usual cat and mouse chasing each other and just causing all this damage around them, there was this one scene that was done in a hotel room that was visually amazing, and I thought they did a really good job at mimicking kind of like the kind of mayhem that they found themselves going through in the cartoon. And they did it with a lot of the live visual effects, and I think they really did an amazing job with that. There was another scene with a Rube Goldberg device that I thought was really well done. Again, some things that you would expect you would see in the cartoon, but they were able to mimic them pretty well in live action. Along with Tom and Jerry, you do have some of the other background characters that join in on this movie. You have, those alley cats that, tend to sometimes show up and pick on Tom or make fun of Tom there. And you have Spike the dog. It was really cool to see Spike the dog, who ends up being a pet of Colin and his fiance there, along with an animated cat that becomes somewhat of a love interest of Tom. So it was really cool to see that they brought some of these background characters or side characters that we saw in the cartoons as well. And just like what you've seen in the cartoons, some of the visual gags are repeated. You have scenes like Tom is playing on the keyboard or playing piano, and Jerry is always trying to interrupt or ruin his flow. You have the kind of hiding, like, you can't see what's in my fist kind of gag, and then all of a sudden Jerry kind of like socks him right in the face. So it's really, really cool to kind of see some of these visual gags that we were used to seeing in the cartoons again, being brought to this new live action format. Now, it was a little off-putting not to see any MGM reference. Again, the original cartoons were under the MGM Studio banner, and now this is being, controlled by Warner Brothers. They did take some advantage of that, and they had some really, really cool Easter eggs there. If you look at one of the scenes where Tom is coming out of the subway, you have a fake movie poster of the Joker, but this time it's Droopy Dog who is playing the role of the Joker there. And Droopy Dog does also make a cameo in this movie as well. Droopy Dog, I feel, did kind of originate from the Tom and Jerry cartoons, and Tex Avery kind of spawned him off into his own thing. And then you have a little tribute to Tim Burton's Batman, where Tom is utilizing these wings that he built for himself to kind of make his way into the hotel to get Jerry. And he does a little the typical Batman flying up to the moon to make kind of like a bat or cat signal, however you want to call it. So it's nice little nods to some of the Warner Brothers properties there, it being now a Warner Brothers property themselves. The movie has a really great hip-hop and R&B soundtrack. That was something that I was totally not expecting. The movie right off the bat starts off with A Tribe Called Quest, and it was introed by these pigeons too, one of which was actually voiced by Tim Story himself. And I guess that main pigeon kind of became somewhat of a narrator throughout the movie, which was an interesting choice because I felt like it kind of disrupted a lot of the flow in the movie whenever the pigeon showed up. I guess it was used more for transition purposes, let you know we're going from Act 1 into Act 2 into Act 3. But I did personally find it pretty annoying every time those pigeons showed up, or that one pigeon showed up. It was very unnecessary, and I personally didn't like it. Now, the overall main theme of this movie pretty much is, getting over differences, learning how to be open and working together. They find themselves in the hotel, and Chloe kind of needs their help to try to make things work out and all that.
You guys gotta stop fighting. It's like you've been doing this for years.
So you get to see Tom and Jerry actually trying to be friends, which led into this really interesting sequence of them doing touristy stuff throughout New York, which I thought was actually pretty funny. But I think a missed opportunity here was exploring that even more. It would have been great to see them, cause more chaos and ruckus all throughout the city in a more grander scale. Towards the end, we do see them team up and go through this crazy city chase scene, and it was pretty cool how it all transpired and how they really put that together. But I really do feel like one of the missed opportunities here was to see more of that. Really, I think it would have been cool to take advantage of their setting in New York and the mix of animation and live action, and how that would have played out if you did your typical cat and mouse chase, all throughout the city, in all different parts of the city and all that. Now, I will say, and kind of like what I mentioned before, since the story kind of switches focus from Tom and Jerry and puts more focus on the couple that is to be, married with Colin Jost there, the charm of the movie kind of disappeared halfway through. I think the overall charm was really just seeing Tom and Jerry be Tom and Jerry, right? I mean, that's basically what we were expecting and hoping for when watching a movie like this. And, they put a lot of focus in really, putting forward the couple there that is meant to be married, all their issues and them trying to get this wedding day correct, Chloe trying to help them out and everything like that. Then you have this side story about her taking over the planning of everything, and Michael Pena's character losing his job and like trying to get back into it, and then turning on Tom and Jerry and having them turn against each other again after they're trying to be buds. It was very, very a weird switch halfway through, and it kind of lost me, and I feel like that's where the movie kind of took a dip from there. And then, like any other movie, things work out at the end. The ending was very cookie cutter in a way. It's just like, all this trials and tribulations, disaster happening, Tom and Jerry being blamed, but then also Chloe had something to do with it, and she was taking the fall, and and all that, and then she decided to make things right, asked Tom and Jerry to help out, and they were more than willing to help out, and they got the couple back together. Things worked out at the end. Everyone is hunky-dory, everyone's buds, and then something happens and Jerry does something to Tom and Tom doesn't like it, and then the rivalry picks up right again at the end there. So for what it's worth, overall the movie itself was entertaining, with the exception of that weird switch and focus halfway through. If you could make it through the end there, I would say it's worth the watch. I can see this being a good movie for families, because right now there's not a lot of choices, and maybe you guys have ran through everything already. Maybe you've watched it all and you're looking for something new to watch with the family, and I think kids will really get to enjoy this because of the humor. I feel like the humor is really catered more towards the newer generation. The OG people like myself, who are big into Tom and Jerry and have fond memories of the cartoons, will love certain parts of the movie, especially the first half, but then we'll probably get a little disappointed halfway through and all the way towards the end. But overall, it's just great to see Tom and Jerry being brought back into the mainstream right now, or at least trying to be. But it's nice to see them do new stuff with this property, and I hope it leads into potential new things that they can do, whether it be maybe another movie or a possible TV series in the future. So if I were to give this a rating, I'll definitely give it a 3 out of 5 cheeses. Why don't we use cheeses today? Yeah, let's use some cheeses, since that is something that Jerry is always looking forward to, acquiring, and you see that quite a bit in this movie. But I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think of it. Did you guys watch it? Are you planning to watch it? Did anything that I say right now persuade you to either watch it or not watch it? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and let me know what you guys think. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching. Again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.